Aston Villa have beaten Manchester United 3-1. Bad result for Erik Ten Hag's team, a really good one for Unai Emery. This is his first game in charge of the club. And this is how they lined up, like a 4-4-2, which was also a 3-5-2, with a few clever tactical things that were going on in this game that we can try and cover in this. And a lot of the stuff was actually predicted by John McKenzie on another video on Tifo IRL. Maybe you've seen that one about Unai Emery and what he'll bring to Aston Villa. If you enjoyed that or you like what I'm about to say, please do subscribe to our channel. That would be very nice of you. And then hit the bell notification button, because then you get notified every time we upload new videos. And we've got loads and loads of videos coming up. Too many. Anyway, here's Aston Villa in a 4-4-2. Here's Man United in their 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1 really, because Casemiro and Eriksen are a double pivot, with Van de Beek trying to fill the massive hole left by Bruno Fernandes' absence. And it's a real problem that we saw with United. Because what we know so far, through other videos we've covered in Tifo IRL so far with Man United, is that they really struggle to break down teams who sit in a block and deny them the opportunity to play through them. They want to play in transition. So if a team can just stop United from being able to go back to front really quickly, they find it difficult to break them down, especially without Bruno Fernandes, who is their chief chance creator. That's what he does. So what we had was Donny van de Beek over here, who has played for Ten Hag a lot in the past, and Ajax, things like that. And what he's meant to do is play between the lines. We've got lines, I'll show you the lines of defence here. This is the kind of thing he wants to do, is play in these sorts of positions here. But because Villa in their first defensive shape was a 4-4-2, which would start round about, maybe a bit further forward than this, maybe the block would start round about here. It shows the ball wide, so when United get forward like this, you get Rashford trying to stay wide, or maybe Garnacho here. You're going to get the overlap from Luke Shaw. And Dallow's more inverted, he comes in the half space more like this. So what you're getting is Aston Villa staying very narrow, and then eventually what would happen when they get to a certain point is that Ramsey would drop in to form a 3 in the midfield, and Bailey would go back round here, and that gives you a back 5, and it's essentially a 3-5-2. So Ramsey can go and be a striker, and Buendia can tuck in, or it can be the other way around. It can be that Buendia goes forward and Watkins maybe drifts out to the wings. Basically, it's very fluid at certain points, but generally speaking, they have a 3-5-2 at certain stages of the game. They also have a 4-4-2. It's a hybrid system, and it's much better explained by John in his video on the channel. So go and watch that. That's what they're doing, because he got it right. So what we got here is 4-4-2 block. Whatever we've got. Maybe we'll put them in the 5-3-2. So what we saw for United was this kind of shape. You want your width from your two players. Garnacho had a decent game. He's a decent young player. He'll be good soon. Shaw on the overlap, very useful. But Van de Beek struggled to get in the game. He wants to play between the lines. He wants to play short and have lots of players playing 1-2s off him. But Villa were reducing that space, so he couldn't really do that. And then what you had was him really unable to affect the play too much, and Villa causing problems with some of the movements they were making. And because he was really not getting involved too much, Eriksen was pushing up, trying to join the midfield, which left Casemiro very much on his own, protecting against the United backline. And so what Villa were doing was trying to create space by pulling United's players out of position with this flexible hybrid system that they've got. And one of the ways they're doing that is from goal kicks. So constantly what you saw was Mings and Konsa would split as the centre-backs. And then you've got Ronaldo, who he runs, but he's not great at pressing. Doesn't really matter in this context. So you might have the team looking like this a little bit. That kind of front 4 that United play. This is what their pressing shape looks like. It's a bit like that, half the time. A bit tighter maybe. So with Mings here, you've got Dino wide left, you have Cash wide right and build up. Then what would you have is Luiz and Dendoncker are the two midfielders holding. Ramsey's more of a 10. Bailey and Buendia wide with Watkins is what you've got. So Watkins would regularly go wide to try and cause trouble. Buendia would also, when he was starting wide from goal kicks, he would come into the half space round about here, dragging the right back with him. And when you drag him inside the pitch, then you can create a bit of a space Lindelof has to go and play with. So Watkins would move out into this position here. And then this is where the first goal comes from, is Watkins goes out wide because Buendia drags Dalot inside. Lindelof goes tight, he really wants to get close to him. The ball's of Watkins. Now you can see straight away this creates a bit of a problem because there's a big gap here. And Casemiro in this first goal should probably drop in to fill this bit in, but he doesn't. Instead what happens is that Villa are able to get the ball to Watkins, he can move inside, and what you have is, I think it's Ramsey and Bailey are in amongst this sort of situation here. Obvious run for Bailey to go across this, like this. He does that, the ball comes into him, he's able to get ahead of Martinez and scores. Now this is kind of an individual error of Dalot being dragged inside, Lindelof being too aggressive, following his man too tightly, and then Bailey being able to execute this move into this space that's been left behind for Martinez. But basically what we're seeing is that Villa know exactly how Man United are going to play, they lock them down, and because United, when they do have the ball, are then not able to break down, let's put them back into a shape, because they've got no one that can break down this team when they're in their block and keeping them away. What eventually happens is that the ball just has to keep getting funneled wide, and their only real option is to constantly put crosses into the box for Ronaldo at the back post. And it's just not happening for him just now. So the goal that Villa score is some individual problems that United have that are caused by a couple of clever tactical things that Unai Emery's got his team doing. Obviously they're still learning, Aston Villa, they've only just started to learn what to do under Emery. What we see from United is that when they don't have Bruno Fernandes, where is he, over here, in these spaces to try and dictate and to try and thread balls through, like he creates more chances for United than anyone else in that pitch. What eventually happens instead is the ball gets funneled wide, slow play, really lethargic, and he just keeps putting crosses into the box at the back post for Ronaldo to try and head. And it's just not happening for him this season. He's not having the best season whatsoever. And so that's what kept happening. United had more possession than Villa. They wanted to be able to play in transition. Villa wouldn't let them. And then in the second half, Villa start again with more energy, more intensity, and they cause problems with another little clever tactical thing that they do. Thing is though, is it actually tactical or is it just bad play for United? Because what happens for the third goal that Villa score that seals the game is just a hopeful punt from Mings, gets rid of it. United have all the players, it looks a bit like this in this half of the pitch. Mings punts it long, and then what you see is, again, if Bruno Fernandes is in amongst here, I think he probably helps win this ball back, because Eriksen, Casemiro, I think Shaw's over here, right about here. Lindelof tries to win the ball, Watkins contests it, it bounces, Martinez goes in for a header, and he tries to find one of these players. He bounces it with a header to here, but all of them sort of stand and stare. There's no intensity, no like desperation to get on the ball. You can see it. It's a bit of just waiting for someone else to take charge. The kind of thing that Bruno Fernandes does. If he's here, he charges back to try and win that ball, gets something stuck in or start a tackle. Instead, the ball bounces into a loose space. Buendia wins it. He plays it out wide to Watkins, who runs into the space, which has been left by Dalot being inverted over here. Watkins then has Lindelof against him, runs all the way with the ball to the box. Lindelof doesn't put any pressure on him, just tries to block, which isn't the worst thing to do in the world, to be fair. Then you've got Bailey moving in here, and you've got Buendia pushing up to join in, and Donker, everyone's trying to join in basically as United's players get back, but it's not enough. Because then what happens is Jacob Ramsey just waits his time, Watkins gets to here, and as United trying to get in a defensive shape, a bit like this, and Villa's players try and push them back, he just waits at the edge of the box, Watkins gets here, plays it in, and because they're in a bit of a mess, they've got all players up here trying to get back, not fast enough, no intensity, Ramsey can then finish, a great finish into the back of the net to make it 3, and that's United lost another away game, which is not great. So what we've learned from this game is that United really need Bruno Fernandes, need all their best players. Anthony was a big miss in this game. They lack creativity without them, and then teams are just able to block them down, deny them space through the middle, put them into wide areas that put crosses into the box, and then they've got Ronaldo trying to win headers, and that's kind of it. It's not great. So, good game plan from Aston Villa. Unai Emery smashed that one out. Man United, not back to the drawing board, just need their players not to be injured. It causes them a lot of trouble. But if they can make teams play in the counter-attack, it's a lot better for them. So that's sort of what we learned from Aston Villa versus Man United. That's it. That's all we've learned. Yes, that's it. Goodbye.
If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic is home to some of the world's best sports journalists, including David Ornstein, Daniel Taylor, Ollie Kay, Amy Lawrence and Rafa Honigstein. There are journalists dedicated to each Premier League team, so every fan gets the coverage they deserve, not just the big clubs. And you can try it for free now for 30 days. See the link in the description.